Hello and welcome to another quick crop video. Well, today I want to look at planting up my polytunnel. We've reached that exciting time of the year when I can start putting in plants like chili peppers and tomatoes. But before I get started, there are a few jobs that I need to do, and that's what this video is really about: preparing your polytunnel for the season ahead. There are three main things I want to show you today. The first one is re-irrigating the soil. I've let it dry out a little bit over the winter, which I shouldn't have, so I'm going to show you how to do that. The second thing is feeding the soil. Now, a lot of the plants that we grow in polytunnels, like tomatoes or cucumbers, are quite demanding plants, so they need a very fertile soil. And then the last thing I want to do is just clean down the plastic on the top of the tunnel to remove any moss or residue that might have built up over the winter. Any algae or dirt that's built up on the polythene is going to block out valuable light, and of course that's the whole reason why we have a polytunnel, which we've spent a few quid on. It's to get in as much light and heat as possible for our heat-loving plants, so a good clean down really is important. Today I'm just using my hose, and I'm using a brush that I use for washing my car, which actually is ideal for this job and gets it done in minutes. You can see that we watered the surface of the soil there, but you'd be surprised if you've let your tunnel dry out just how little moisture there is just under the surface. We can see it's pretty much bone dry there. Now, to solve this problem, we're going to dig a couple of quite large but temporary holes into the soil, which are going to act as reservoirs. So basically what we do is we fill these holes with water, and that will seep into the dry soil surrounding the hole and get it really properly saturated. And we keep doing that until the hole holds the water, and that way we know that our job is done. Now, in a tunnel this size, which is about 8 meters, I think I'd probably dig 5 or 6 of these holes just to make sure that all the bed is properly moist in preparation for planting. The next thing we need to look at is, does our polytunnel soil have enough nutrients to feed all these hungry vegetables that we're going to plant? Now, one of the best things you can add, if you can get your hands on it, is a very well rotted farmyard manure. And I'm lucky because I happen to have a friendly farmer around the corner, Mr. Clive Bright, the rare ruminaire. So let's jump in the Jeep and we're going to go and pay him a visit. Now, poor old Niall has to spend most of his time in the office while I get to have fun running around making videos for you guys. So I think we'll go and give him a little bit of a break, and we'll give him a day on the farm. Clive, thanks a million for having us around and giving us some of your very precious time, and hopefully some of your precious manure later on.
We'll see.
Guys, we're just going to talk a little bit about manure because it's so important in the garden. Now, Niall, I know you're a big fan of manure.
I love manure. As you know, I'm full of shit, right? And this is one of my favourite subjects. So, Clive, just tell us about composting your manure and how it works and why you do it in the first place.
Well, most farmers don't compost their manure. Okay. And it has value in its raw state as well, because it's quite high in nitrogen and other nutrients. And composting kind of burns off a lot of the nitrogen, but there's a huge other range of benefits. Mostly it increases the microorganisms in your compost, and they're all aerobic microorganisms, and then they increase.
So when we use that compost, we're kind of inoculating our soil.
Absolutely,
then, really.
yeah.
We're adding all those good guys into our soil.
So manufacturing microbes for the soil. Basically.
And then bringing all that into your garden to just really invigorate it, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
And when we came in, you were turning it with the tractor there. That's what we do in there.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty much the same as what you do in your garden compost. Okay. You turn it to get air into it, and it raises the temperature in it.
Okay.
Actually, I was just checking the temperature before you come in, if you'd like to have a look.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
Okay, Clive, so you've got the thermometer in there now. Just tell us, why do you do that?
I record the temperature all the time because there's two reasons basically. I want to get it up to temperature of about 55 to 65 degrees.
Okay.
That kills all the weed seeds and it kills all the pathogens like E. coli and things like that. I want to avoid also not going over that, because once you go above kind of 70 degrees you're going to start damaging beneficial microorganisms. So basically I monitor the temperature
Constantly.
pretty much, yeah. And when it reaches temperature we turn the piles to bring the temperature down.
All right, okay. And so the outside is then put to the inside. And it's interesting, we're in a pile of manure here today and there's no smell. Why is that?
No, well, turning it burns off all the nitrogen, and it's ammonia that's the principal smell. All these piles have been turned a number of times, so when you turn the piles, the ammonia gets burnt off. That's the nitrogen, and
That's where the smell comes
that's where
from.
the smell comes from. Yeah.
Wow.
So basically you're making the best manure possible for vegetable gardeners.
Well, I think so. Yeah.
So can we cut the chit chat and actually get some?
I suppose so.
Good man. Clive, thanks a million. I really am so grateful for this. It's real gold for the garden, isn't it? Am I ready to use that straight away?
You came a little bit early. I'm not quite finished making it, so it's a little bit raw yet, so you'd probably have to turn it a bit yourself.
Okay, so maybe if I just add a few bits to my own compost bins, and then in about a month or so,
That'd be ideal, yeah.
We'll have some nice stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, as I said, thanks a million. We'll drop you around a few old cabbages now, and they're grown. I'm going to drop Niall back to the office now, and we're going to get back to the tunnel.
Okay.
Thanks, Clive.
Cheerio.
See you later, man.
See you guys.
Catch you later.
Bye.
Cheers.
Now, we heard Clive say just before we left that the manure that he's given us needs about another month just to break down completely, so we're not ready to put it into the tunnel yet. I want to get planted today, so I'm going to have to use something else, but fear not, Quick Crop, of course, always to the rescue. I'm just going to show you a few products we have on the site. This is G-Up. It's an organic, properly composted horse manure. Virtually no smell of it, no manure smell anyway, and you heard Clive say that once the manure is broken down properly you won't get the smell. The other one then is this sea feed, and this is a pelleted feed. This is our own brand product, and it's a mixture of poultry manure but also composted seaweed, and that gives us loads of trace elements from the seaweed and micronutrients, which is going to be a great boost for your plants. And then we also have our good old garden compost. Now this is EnviroGrind, which is our own brand garden compost, and it's a mixture of composted green material but also composted fish waste, and gives you a little bit of added oomph. Now, as regards application, I would usually use a bucket of garden compost about that size per square metre. Depending what I'm planting, what nutrients the plant needs, I'd probably use half a bucket of this composted manure, and then I'd be using the sea feed more directly, and I'd be putting this around the planting hole of demanding plants, definitely for tomatoes, cucumbers or courgettes. So that's a really handy one to have in my toolkit. Now, remember, all these products and plenty more gardening videos are all available on our websites quickcrop.ie and quickcrop.co.uk. We're going to be doing a lot more videos on indoor growing this year, so I look forward to seeing you again in the Polytunnel soon.